Hello, welcome to the show. So we start with what was the most valuable company in Asia, technology giant Tencent. It's seen $150 billion slashed from its market value since January. Now, we should have its latest earnings report today, and unsurprisingly, investors are hoping its fortunes can be revived. Well, Tencent owns the hugely popular messaging app WeChat, and together with its Chinese-only version Weixin, it hit 1 billion monthly users for the first time earlier this year. But it hasn't all been plain sailing. This week, shares took a tumble after Chinese regulators stopped Tencent from selling its blockbuster video game. Now, if you're watching from Asia, you've probably heard of it. It's called Monster Hunt World. It sounds a bit vicious, but it's a big hit with gamers, and investors had hoped the game would be a big earner, and they'll be watching closely for whether the firm can reverse its fortunes. So far this year, its share price has fallen by 11%. David.
Thanks very much. With us now is Cyrus, Mewawalla, who's the head of thematic research at Global Data and knows a thing or two about Monster Hunter World, which puts you ahead of the rest of us for the moment. Let me just ask you, Cyrus, first of all, though, the share price has been tumbling for a while now. It seems like everything is going downhill. Is it all built around these video games?
Well, to put things in perspective, Tencent is still the 7th largest internet company in the world after companies like Apple and Amazon and so on. And it's first equal in terms of China. It ranks with Alibaba. Now, in the short term, Tencent is suffering from, about almost half its revenues come from gaming, and the gaming industry, or at least Tencent's gaming revenues, are under threat. And they're under threat from 4 areas. So competition from other gamers, competition from other internet apps like video streaming apps and so on, music video apps, and also the regulator is a big issue. The new media regulator in China has not approved new games since March, and therefore Tencent can't make money from the new games it develops. And finally, the market's getting saturated.
Right, and there have been complaints about the game, so we don't quite know where that's leading to, but it's going to be a long-term process getting that resolved, presumably.
Yeah, so throughout Tencent's portfolio, they've had a number of regulatory issues. There have been complaints against some games. Some games have been deemed too violent. Some games, the monetization model hasn't yet been authorized.
So what is the answer for them to correct this fall, if you like? Is it to just improve their gaming and get in a better position, or actually start looking elsewhere? And they have a pretty broad portfolio, don't they?
Yeah, I think there's 2 factors. One is outside their control, which is the regulator needs to start removing that backlog of approvals. And Tencent generally does what the regulator asks, so I don't see that as a problem. But that's a short-term issue. It'll probably drag on for a few months. In the longer term, Tencent is extremely well positioned in all the next-generation technology cycles that are coming up. In cloud computing, in artificial intelligence, in internet TV, it's got the streaming platforms, the technology, it's also got music and video content. So like Alibaba, it's extremely well positioned, not just in China, but globally.
So it's a good long-term bet, is what you're saying. Is it to the extent that some of those other areas that you mentioned, internet TV, the amount of content they've got involved with, could outgrow what they do with their video games?
Definitely. If you look to the future, the companies that dominate, the way to make money is to have a big platform base. And out of China's 772 internet users, Tencent's got the vast majority of them, as has Alibaba. So they've got a good base on which to put new technologies. And if they dominate those next generation technologies, they're going to do very, very well. And they're really well placed through various investments. They're even in electric cars. They have 15% of NIO, an electric car maker. So they're really well placed in terms of all these technologies.
So these complaints, I mean, how much of that is a challenge to video gaming in China? Is it the social disruption that it causes? Because children do tend to get quite addicted to these games.
Yeah, the media regulator has 2 functions. It approves the content. Is that content appropriate for kids and other people? And it approves the monetization model. Is Tencent appropriately charging people for this? And both are an issue. And certainly, certain content in China is censored. It's not allowed. And there's a social culture that the Chinese authorities want to maintain. And Tencent has to abide by that. So violence, for example, strong violence is out.
OK, well, we'll see how they have got on in a matter of a few hours' time. Cyrus, thanks very much indeed for that.
Thank you.